The left one, which came from Long A Yin, is really, really old. In fact, it's better not to do it. What I mean is, if you think of your hands falling like this, the next blow becomes really easy. If you find this, you've learned half of the flower. Now, when you hit the iron, right, is the bean position a little different for each number? Yes. To explain this a little more simply, depending on the width of your stance, especially your right foot, you need to know that the ball hits differently. When your stance is the same, it's not like a 6 is half to the left, and a 5 is half. It's much more helpful to know that the wider your right foot gets, the narrower it gets. Are the driver's stance and the outside stance the same? They are different. Then the ball position changes. So what does this mean? Those of you who have sticks can use them, and usually, one golf club is in the middle of the foot, like this, 3 balls, we talk about left and right, but based on the 7th iron, the ball in the middle is under the navel, and many people say that the 7th iron is the 7th iron. You can use that as a reference point, but as you go to the 8th iron, the right side, and as you go to the long iron, the left side is really, really old. Actually, it's better not to do it. What this means is that the 7 iron, 8 9 iron pitching, 6 iron, 5 4 iron, and 3 iron already have the same loft. Is it different? There's no need to put it further to the right. And actually, I'm very careful when I talk about the next blow to amateurs, but you can think of the next blow as almost non-existent. In fact, assuming that you're hitting the ball in Korea. In the past, Korea had mountain courses where the grass was hard and soft when you stepped on it, so many people used to say, you have to hit it down a little bit. But these days, Korean and foreign jangli are used to playing golf, and to prevent the grass from dying, the roots have become tough, so if you step on the fairway, it's incredibly soft. That's why the ball is floating on the grass. Then, there's no need to hit it down. First of all, you need to understand this. These days, there's not a single golf course in the country where the ground is exposed, except for sheepgrass. Sheepgrass is literally attached to the ground, so you have to hit it down with a feeling of hitting it down. From the perspective of Korean grass, always step on the ball later. Is it hard or soft? So, rather than saying, hit it down, I often advise hitting it down as much as possible. But what does this have to do with ball movement? The more the ball moves to the right, the more you think about the clock. If the ball is on the right, it's further to the right of the center of the field of view, so you'll hit it a little lower. If the ball is on the left, it'll hit it higher from the center, so you'll hit it lower. Rather than approaching it this way, consider just one left club, about 2 to 2.5 golf balls wide. When addressing from this position, if you have 2 to 3 balls on your right foot, it's in the center. Then, let's widen your right foot a little. Where does the ball go? If it's a little wider, yes. So, think of the wood as being a little wider. For the outside, if your stance becomes that narrow, it'll go to the right. Those who have been talking about this are now famous pros in the US, like Jack Nicklaus and others. They all do this because, when you already have loft, why keep the ball wide apart? I really dislike putting the ball in the center and then right, because it's easier to block. If you have too many follow-up blows, there are many negative aspects. If you hit down, you'll lose some distance. Conversely, if you hit too hard, the distance variation will be too large. So, I think the most correct impact is to hit the ball directly and dig it in a thin, long way, rather than feeling like you're hitting the next blue. On the downs. That's why I always start with my left foot, the standard for number 7. Of course, I can't put down my alignment stick on the course, but players always practice with an alignment stick. This is to find their own alignment. So, if you address with one golf ball and use your right foot in a similar way, you'll get a 7-eye. However, if you place your right foot slightly wider, the ball will naturally move to the left of center. Therefore, adjusting with your right foot makes it easier and more convenient to change the ball. Even for pitching, don't put your long foot on the right and your long shin on the left. If you stand with your long shin a little wider, the ball will naturally go to the left. If you stand with your right foot a little narrower on the show dine, the ball will naturally go to the right. So just use your left foot as a reference. However, the ball position is a little different for the driver. We say that the ball position for the driver is the inside edge of your left foot. But I often say that you should place it about half a golf ball width to the left. The reason is that with the driver, when we say that you release the ball, the head goes up past the lowest point and hits the ball, so we call it an upper blow. But amateurs don't often achieve an upper blow. So by placing it about half a ball width to the left, you can achieve the upper blow effect a little more easily. That's why I actually hit it like this. It's much better to place the driver near the big toe of your left foot or in front of your left ankle and hit. For drivers, irons, woods, and many other golf clubs, it's much more helpful to address the ball with your right foot slightly wider or narrower, based on the size of 2 golf balls on your left foot. I'll show you how to hit it once. It's a 7, with the ball in the center. And it's best if you have a stick. The stick is the reference point, so if your left and right feet are similar, it's normal. It's good to set the ball in this way, but since the next blow is ultimately about the head falling to the ground, it feels like it needs to be pressed down a little more, or the ball needs to go a little deeper into the ground. To explain this a little more simply, digging the ground is definitely not a down blow. I think the club hitting the ground is a down blow. Dropping isn't complicated. The ball is above when our right arm is at a 90-degree angle. In this position, it falls harder than you might think. It should fall this much. How well you utilize this determines whether you're hitting a down blow or an upper blow. This is where I advise you to do nothing during your downswing. But look, this isn't it. This is for those who are taking pictures. If you simply consider the play ratio, my golf ball plays like this at the top of my backswing. My hands fall like this, the next blur becomes much easier. Instead of thinking about how I'm pulling it down or how I'm hitting the club on the ground. Think of it as how you utilize your strength to determine the amount of the next blow. To clarify the difference between a long iron and a short iron has a slightly shorter shaft. So, since your upper body is bent, does the amount of blow increase? Or decrease? Less?
Well, on the contrary, it increases.
Because you're bent, let's do the opposite. Your golf club has become longer. The upper body will be there, right? Does the amount of drop increase? Does it decrease?
Oh, it decreases. That's right.
That's why I express it as, knock it down. Let me make it shorter. Because it's bent, it rises steeper, and, because the amount of drop increases, the next blur becomes more severe. So when I express this, it's the same as saying I'm dropping it. But if I'm bent at address, I'm dropping it more, and if I'm at address, no matter how much I try to drop it, there's already a point, so that slight difference determines the next blow, upper blow, or knock it down, the top method. Usually, if you look at many players starting from 1, almost all of them use this public interest chi. In fact, there are not many people who put it on the left or right. So to summarize, the loft angle of the iron is already set, and rather than moving the ball position further to the right, it doesn't really matter if you just keep the ball position almost in the middle. And rather than focusing a little more on ball position and hitting a down blow, the amount of the next blow depends on how much I release my body at the top of the backswing. Oh, there are so many top balls these days. Oh, I'm going crazy because of the top blows these days. Quote, for those of you who think that, downward force at the top of the backswing. Maintain your wrists instead. Quote, maintain your wrists and apply a lot of downward force at a 90-degree angle. And then rotate. Downward force. Rotate. You didn't apply any force when you just lowered it, right? It just feels like the ball is dropping. For those of you who are hitting the ground too much these days. Now, look, if you understand this, you know half of golf. If you have a lot of downward force at the top of the backswing, where does it hit? It hits right behind, right? I'll gradually rotate it. Where does it come in? Toward, yes. Just rotate. If you find this, you've learned half the flower. Oh, top blow. What then? Quote, that's because you're spinning too fast, and if it snaps back, it means your downward force is too high. If your downward force and the turning force are similar, it's a perfect shot. If you have a lot of downward force, if you have a lot of turning force, if you have a lot of turning force, it's a top ball. Don't get complicated. When you play golf, if you watch lessons, they'll say this and that and the head drops this and that. But if you have a lot of downward force, your head naturally drops together. If you have a lot of turning force, you'll hit more top balls or top balls. If you keep this in mind and think about the down blow to the ball, you'll be able to hit much more comfortably than you do now. This is a really great tip. So rather than thinking, I want to hit the next blow, I want to hit an upper blow, I want the head to go out first, or I want my hands to go out first, I highly recommend first figuring out whether you're good at using downward force or turning force, and then hitting the ball while considering whether to lower or turn it a little more. Everyone has their own style, and depending on the length of their arms, some people are better at hitting down, while others are better at hitting down. Longer arms are much better at hitting down, so consider that. When your right arm is at a 90-degree angle, your hand should definitely be higher than your eyes. If it's similar to your eyes, you're a bit long. Check your arm length and determine your own backswing top position and feel for the drop. Then, you'll be able to hit down with ease. Huh? What? It's just a drop? Quote, that's all there is to it. It's a long way to explain. Are you going to use downward force? Are you going to use turning force?
Thank you so much for your clarity, Pro.
Oh, thank you. If you bend it in a plane, there's a lot of twisting and a lot of instantaneous change. But if you hit the ball from the bottom, you can hit the ball while maintaining this type of balance. If you hit the ball from the bottom, no matter how hard you hit, the next ball won't come out well. If you know the center of the pad, it's that easy to control the face.